Welcome to Radical Release, a healing series within There's No Way I Signed Up for This. This series was born in the in-between, the moments no one claps for, the silent breakdowns, the whispered prayers, the kind of healing that happens when no one's watching. This isn't about getting it all right. It's about learning to return to yourself with gentleness, with faith, and with enough grace to know that not having all the answers still means you're enough. Here, we talk about love after loss, peace after chaos, and how to hear God again, even when it's been quiet for a very long time. So take a breath. This is where we begin the radical release. Hey, welcome back to Radical Release, an episode that is a part of the healing series in the There's No Way I Signed Up for This podcast. This episode is for anyone who's ever slipped, spiraled, or started again. Maybe you found yourself returning to habits you thought you healed from, or maybe you've doubted your own progress because it doesn't look like a straight line. But I want to remind you, a setback is not a failure. And sometimes it's just a pause, a redirection, a skip in the record, or even a deeper lesson that couldn't be learned the first time. So this isn't square one. This is just a wiser choice. So let's talk about what a setback is and what it's not. A setback does not erase the healing you've already done. The righteous fall 7 times and rise again. Proverbs 24:16. The lie the enemy loves most is that you're starting over. But your healing work, your growth, your prayers, none of that is erased just because you had a bad day or a rough month. Let's be real, 2025 hasn't been the easiest experience for a lot of people. Your body still remembers the safety you've created, though. Your mind still holds the scriptures you've clung on to, and your spirit is still tethered to God even when you feel distant. So you're not starting over. You took a break and you're starting again. You're continuing the work, but you're continuing the work with more clarity, more humility, and more compassion for yourself. We run into issues when we think if we have a setback, if some behaviors start to resurface, that everything that happened before doesn't matter. And that's just not true. Again, think of it as a race. This is a marathon. And even in marathons, you have to take a break, get some water. If you injure yourself, you might have to sit for a moment. You get a bad cramp, you slow down, but you still continue the race. You don't start back at the starting point. And that's kind of how healing works, right? When you are stressed, you revert back to what you know. That's just not a cute saying. That's a researched, evidence-based statement. When you are stressed, you revert back to what you know. It's safer, right? That doesn't mean you stay there. That doesn't mean you're stuck there. One thing that keeps us in those spaces, those spiraling moments, is shame. The shame after a setback sometimes is worse than the fall itself, especially if you've been somebody who has talked about your healing journey, somebody who has used your experience to help others. If you have a moment where you fall back or do something that you thought you healed from, or you felt that you've healed more than you have. And funny story, a prompt in ChatGPT I was told to use was, tell me 5 truths about myself based on what you know of me. that I might be overlooking. And one of the truths that came back was, you think you've healed more than you have. I'm like, wow. ChatGPT is out here roasting people. But think about what that really means. Because when you are in a space of thinking you have mastered something, a behavior has been cleared, you're not going back to that individual. You're not going to partake in that activity. And then the opportunity presents itself. And maybe you're stressed. Maybe you don't know what to do. So you do what you know. So you might fall back into those harmful behaviors, those maladaptive behaviors that you developed to get through the trauma that you've experienced. But then when you realize what occurred, the shame of it all can sometimes be worse than the actual event. Meaning now you're blaming yourself, meaning you're feeling stuck, meaning you're feeling like you're back at square one, or any of your healing journey that you have gotten to that point doesn't matter. You might say things like, I should have known better. I thought I was past this. All these prayers and I'm still doing the same things. And when we do this, we put ourselves in that cycle. We put ourselves in the space where we're attaching ourselves to shame. But God doesn't operate on performance. He doesn't hand out grace on the merit system. It's not a situation where, well, we thought you were past this and we sent all these tests on purpose just to show that you're not. That's not what's happening. In fact, some of the greatest spiritual leaders have had setbacks. Peter denied Jesus 3 times and still became the rock of the church. Elijah begged to die after a major victory. David fell into sin and still wrote psalms that heal us today. What matters is what you return to. Return to truth, return to prayer, return to grace. That's the realignment. That's the refocus that we want to talk about. It's not about where you start. And it's really even not about the bumps in the road along the way. It's where you finish. It's where you finish. So sure, everybody's healing journey is not going to look the same. Some people might be able to advance quicker in some areas and stall out in some places, while some people might present themselves in a way that looks very healed and put together on the outside, but internally they're falling apart. Again, no one's journey looks the same, and no one's journey is the right way. Your specific experience is your experience. Just like mine is mine, your cousins, your friends, everybody has their own journey. And when we compare ours to someone else's, we're always gonna fall short because it's not our experience. Right? Somebody might look farther down the road than you are in your journey, but you don't know what that person might have gone through to get where they're at, and you don't know what's in the road ahead of them. So it's always best to focus on what's going on with you. Acknowledge when you have setbacks. For me, a setback, and let's reframe that. Let's not even call it a setback. A opportunity for growth. I hate that phrase. It's always in not mine, but it's in a lot of performance reviews when you're talking about work. Opportunities for growth. But that's what it is. When you get those trigger moments, when you thought you were past something and you act out in a way that is opposite of where you thought you were, that's letting you know that there's still some work that needs to be done. Think of it like a bruise or an injury, and you bruise, right? And as the time goes on, the pain to that injury starts to go away. But if you touch that bruised injury, that area in the wrong way, it's going to hurt. And that's kind of the same thing. As you go through the healing process, it's not a one and done. It's a process. So you might have a really great set of weeks, set of days, set of moments, and then something presents itself, an occurrence happens, or an opportunity arises where a decision might not be aligned with what you're looking to do in your healing spaces. So it's like somebody touched the bruise and it hurt. So, hey, this is where some more healing needs to be done. So think of it as just a little indicator, I like to call them check engine lights to say, hey, you kind of reverted back to some behaviors you thought you moved past. So that tells me we might need to do some more work here. So one thing that you can do is return to the why, not the how. What do I mean by that? When we've stumbled, we often get obsessed with fixing the behavior. Why did I do this? How do I stop this? How do I stay on track? But what if you paused? Pause and ask yourself, why did I drift off track? Was I exhausted? Was I triggered? Did I feel disconnected from God? When we refocus our thoughts, it isn't always about doing more. It's often about doing less, just having a deeper awareness. In Psalms 23:3 says, He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness in His namesake. So connecting back to the all-knowing, right? I am that I am. Allow that time to help lead you back. You don't have to chase your healing. You just have to return to it. And the first step to returning to it is forgiving yourself. So many times when we have these bumps in the road, so many times when we fall back into some behaviors we thought we healed from, so many times when we look in the mirror and we're seeing the person that we left behind, and we get stuck in beating ourselves up for that. Again, you don't have to chase healing, you just have to return to it. So having that awareness like, yeah, this happened. Yep, doesn't feel good. Didn't want that to happen. Shouldn't have happened, but it happened. All right, we accept that it happened. The most important part of that conversation is your next move. Do you allow yourself to stay in those behaviors? Do you allow yourself to stay in that cycle of shame? Or do you say, dust yourself off? You already know the song I'm about to quote. And try again. But really, that's what it comes down to. Are you going to stay in the behavior? Are you going to stay in the shame? Or are you going to start from where you stopped and keep moving forward? It's not a complete reset. It's just an indicator where some additional work needs to be done. Again, it's a process. Healing is not one step. I wish it was. So here are some reflection questions for you. I want you to take while I offer you. I'm not telling you what to do, so I offer you this exercise. Take 15 minutes today and reflect honestly. Get your journal out, get your pen out, and let's unpackage some of these moments. So number 1, what was the moment or series of moments when you felt yourself drifting? Again, what was that moment or series of moments when you felt yourself drifting? Number 2, what are 3 truths that your setback has shown you? Because there's lessons in the pause. There's lessons in the bump in the road. So what are 3 truths that your setback has shown you about yourself and where you are in your healing journey? And number 3, what is one gentle step you can take this week to refocus and realign with who you're becoming? And what these reflection questions are doing is A, allowing yourself to have awareness and accountability. 2, being truthful with who you are, but also learning from that. And 3, setting you up to move forward beyond that setback. So take, again, just 15 minutes and write it out. And our journal prompt is, God, remind me that I'm not back at the beginning. Help me release any shame, honor my journey, and return to the healing with grace and honesty. So again, I want you all to just take a moment to acknowledge that A, we're human. Let's start there. And B, we're going to have hiccup moments. We're going to have moments where we drift off a little from our course. What's most important is how you get back on your path and deciding to do that and getting out of that cycle of shame. So, if this episode helped you, or you know somebody that might be able to benefit from it, go ahead and send it to them and just let them know that they're not alone, right? So, thank you so much for getting this far with me, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you next week. And as always, make sure to chase your joy.